first time my family called me in 7 years. It wasn't to say they missed me. It was to ask me for money. My name is Elena Carter. I'm 28 years old, and last Thursday, I sat alone in my office in Seattle, staring at my phone as it lit up again and again and again. By the time it stopped, there were 39 voicemails waiting for me, 39 voices from people who erased me from their lives like I never existed. And not one of them said, "I'm sorry." Every single one said the same 2 words, "Help me." I didn't open them right away. I just sat there staring at the screen, because something in my chest already knew this wasn't reconciliation. This wasn't love. This was need, and need has a very different tone when it comes from people who taught you how to survive without it. 7 years earlier, I walked out of a house in a town called Brookfield, Indiana, with $300, 1 suitcase, and a truth nobody in that house was willing to admit out loud. By the time I left, my family had already rewritten me into something easier to live with. Unstable, dramatic, difficult, a problem, not a person. And for 7 years, that version of me lived rent-free in their lives, while the real version of me had to build everything from scratch. It started on Thanksgiving, not the kind you see in movies, the warm kind with laughter and second servings. No, this one was quiet in all the wrong ways, the kind where everyone plays their role so well that nobody notices the cracks anymore. I was 21, working 2 jobs, saving every dollar like I was trying to buy my freedom piece by piece. My older sister, Vanessa, had just gotten promoted. Same paycheck, new title, but in my family, titles meant everything. That night, my mother raised her glass. "To Vanessa," she said, smiling like she was presenting something she owned, our pride, our success story. Glasses clinked. People nodded. Compliments filled the room. And me? I raised my glass too, even though no one noticed. I didn't exist at that table unless I caused a problem. So eventually, I did. Not intentionally. Just one question. Calm. Simple. Is there anything left from Grandma Evelyn's education fund? The silence that followed didn't feel natural. It felt rehearsed. My mother didn't answer right away. She smiled, slow, controlled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. And then she did what she always did when the truth got too close. She changed the story. "Elena's been under a lot of stress lately," she said to the room. "She's been acting unstable." Just like that. The attention shifted. Not to the question, but to me. 15 people in that room. Not one asked if I was okay. Not one said, "Answer her." They just watched. Because in my family, whoever controlled the narrative controlled reality. I left the table and went to the kitchen, turning on the sink just to have something to do with my hands. But even over the sound of running water, I heard the truth. That money, $10,000 my grandmother left for me, was gone. Used, moved, given to Vanessa. And the worst part? My mother said it like it made perfect sense. She wasn't going anywhere anyway. That sentence didn't break me. It clarified everything. I turned off the water, walked back into that room, and for the first time in my life, I didn't shrink. That money was mine. My voice didn't shake. That surprised even me. But my mother didn't argue facts. She never did. She attacked perception. "You're being dramatic again," she said softly, like she was calming a child. And just like that, I became the problem again. Not the theft, not the lie, me. 10 minutes later, she gathered everyone into the living room and performed concern like it was theater. Said I wasn't well, said she'd been covering for me, said she was worried, and everyone believed her. Or maybe it was just easier too. That was the moment I understood something most people take years to learn. Some people don't want the truth. They want the version of reality that keeps them comfortable. So I went upstairs, packed one suitcase, took the cash I had, grabbed a small box my grandmother had left me, and walked out. No screaming, no slamming doors, just done. Outside it was snowing, and I remember thinking something strange as I stepped into the cold. I'd rather be alone in uncertainty than surrounded by people who rewrite me. The bus ride to Seattle was long, quiet, and painfully honest. No distractions, just me and the realization that I had no safety net, no backup plan, no one coming to fix anything. The first year was brutal. Shelters, shared rooms, cheap meals, working through sickness because I couldn't afford not to. There were nights I lay awake wondering if I made the biggest mistake of my life. But slowly, something shifted. The noise in my head, my mother's voice telling me I wasn't enough, started to fade. And in that silence, I started to hear my own. At a small consulting firm, I got a receptionist job, nothing glamorous. But I treated it like it mattered, because it did to me. I fixed broken systems, organized chaos, paid attention, and one day, someone noticed. Her name was Margaret Hale. She didn't ask what was wrong with me. She asked what I was capable of. That question changed my life. I moved up, slowly, earned everything, studied at night, built skills, built discipline, built something nobody could take from me. And 5 years later, I finally opened my grandmother's box. Inside was a letter. It said, "If you're reading this, it means you had the courage to leave. Good. Not stay, not fix, leave." I read it 3 times, because for years, I thought staying silent was loyalty, but it wasn't. It was survival, and she knew it. By year 7, I had something I never had before, stability, not luxury, not excess, just solid ground under my feet, a life built on truth instead of performance. And that's exactly when my past came looking for me. Not out of love, out of need. My sister was drowning, debt, divorce, pressure closing in, and suddenly I wasn't the unstable one anymore. I was useful. That's when the calls started. I finally listened to the voicemails that night, one by one. My father's voice, awkward, distant, asking for help like we hadn't lost 7 years. My brother, casual, almost joking, like we were still close. My mother, controlled, sharp, talking about family like it was a contract I'd broken. And my sister, her voice cracked. "Please, just help me." I sat there in the dark after the last message ended and felt nothing at first. Then something colder settled in. Clarity. They didn't miss me. They missed access to me. That realization didn't hurt the way you'd expect. It didn't break me. It freed me. Because once you see people clearly, you stop negotiating with illusions. 2 weeks later, I went back to Brookfield for a speaking event. They didn't know I was coming. When I walked onto that stage and said my name, the entire room stood up, except my family. For 7 years, they told that town I was broken. And in one moment, without accusing anyone, without defending myself, I proved them wrong just by existing. After the speech, they tried to approach me, smiles, soft voices, pretending. But I didn't step back into that version of myself. "I heard your voicemails," I told them, all of them. Hope flickered across their faces. Then I finished the sentence. Not one apology. Silence. And in that silence, everything was said. "I'm not your solution," I added, calm, final. And then I walked away, not running this time, choosing. A week later, I sent one message, clear boundaries, no anger, no emotion, just truth, no money, no favors, no pretending. If they wanted a relationship, it would start with accountability, real accountability. Otherwise, no. Some stayed silent. One sent a weak apology. Another sent a single word. Sorry. But here's what I've learned. An apology without change is just another way to keep control. Today, my life is quiet. A small apartment. A table with people who choose me. No tension. No roles to play. Just peace. And sometimes, late at night, I think about those 39 voicemails. Not with anger, but with understanding. Because those 2 words, help me, they weren't really about money. They were about losing control of a story they told for years and realizing it no longer worked. If you've ever been that person, the one they ignored until they needed something, listen carefully. You don't owe anyone access to your life just because they share your blood. The 2 words they gave me were, help me. The 2 words I needed were, I'm sorry. And those are not the same thing. My name is Elena Carter. I'm 28 years old, and the most valuable thing I own is the life I built when nobody was watching, and the silence I no longer have to break.